Hi again. I'm trying to think of some things that I might have left out last time we talked. I did grow up in Freeport, kindergarten through 10th grade there. And it was really nice. We were 5 miles from the Gulf of Mexico and just southwest down the coast from Galveston. And we loved going to the beach. Of course, we always got sunburned, but loved going there. Going to the beach, the Intracoastal Canal runs just a mile or so in from the beach, and tugs would push barges and stuff up to Galveston toward Houston and all. And back then, they didn't have a bridge over the canal. They had a drawbridge. And when we go there, we'd hope that we didn't hit it when tugs were pushing barges through, because they're very, very slow. But many times we would get caught with them, and we'd pull up, and we may be the first ones at the stop, or maybe in the back of a long line. But the drawbridge would go up like this, and so nobody could go over it, and the tugs could go through. And we have to wait till it's through, and the drawbridge comes back down again. Then we go out to the beach and frolic and have fun, get sunburned. And then we come back, hopefully we don't hit any more tugs pushing barges through. If we did, again, we were caught and had to wait 15, 20, 30 minutes for it to go back down. But we loved going to the beach. It was very, very special to us. Really, really loved it.
While you're still on that, I know you talked about in the past, like, the lovely aroma that came from the beaches. Said sarcastically.
Well, it depended on which beach you ended up at. There was one beach, Surfside, we preferred. There was another one that wasn't as good. And there were, depending on where you were, there may be stuff scattered all over the beach. People who picnic and just left stuff and rotted and smelled. But Surfside, it wasn't as bad. It depended on what had washed ashore and was decaying.
Where were the shrimp? Where was that? Because was that a bad smell?
The shrimp boats went through the canal.
Yeah. Did that cause a bad smell or anything?
Well, I don't care for shrimps to offer it. If they're dead, that adds to it.
Okay, I got you.
So yeah, that was probably it.
Okay.
One thing too, we didn't particularly care for them. But when we got to the beach, we'd try and find a nice clean spot and enjoy it. And there's the beach came right up, and then there's a stretch of sand, maybe 30 yards, and then there's some sand dunes, and then just salt grass back on to the Intracoastal Canal. And further back in there, before we got to the Intracoastal Canal, there were some beach houses that people owned, and they were up on stilts, and high tides come through, so water wouldn't come to the house. They might be 15 feet off the ground or more, the houses. But we loved going out there. And one thing we liked doing too, when Portuguese men of war, the jellyfish would come in. I've been stung by them before. They have a float that's kind of shaped like this on top, and long tentacles, yards long under the water. And depending on the undercurrent, which direction those tentacles would carry. And you saw a jellyfish floating out there, you know which direction that the tentacles were. You didn't want to run into them, so you gave them a wide berth. So there were times that I would run into them, and there would just be like 5 to more strands across there, run across me and then stick, and they would stick the stinging cells and nematocysts in and just start pumping poison. Well, you got to get them off. Well, you grab them, then your hands are being stung. Yeah. So you got to do something and get them off so it doesn't keep pumping poison. You'd have just lines of whelps going across like that when it got caught. That was later in the summer. I think it was more like in September or getting close to it. But it was always so much fun out there. We always had a good time. We'd take inner tubes, we'd take rubber rafts out there and try and ride the waves in. The waves weren't big like they are on the Atlantic and Pacific, but they were big enough to ride, to come in like that. But it was always a fun time. We'd take a picnic lunch out there and eat. Spend a good part of the day getting sunburned and having fun. So anyway,
and growing up on the coast, you used to eat tuna fish a lot. Is that right?
Yeah. We bought canned white tuna, and Mother would mix it up with mayonnaise and squash it all up. And that's what I had every day for lunch. I'd carry it to school in a paper sack. probably from kindergarten through 10th grade is
Oh
my
my
guess.
goodness.
So yeah, since then I probably haven't eaten any.
Good God.
But I mean, I did it, and she put a lot of mayonnaise in it. That's the way I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I probably told her to. But yeah, that was a, I don't know if you'd say a fond memory, but it was a memory.
It is a memory.
Yeah. After I got out of the Army, my active duty part anyway, I got a job. We lived in Dallas, and I got a job across town, the other side of Dallas. And I would start work at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I worked until I got through. And I could go home when I got through. Well, the guy before me was, I don't know, he was about 6'2" and trim as could be and strong as could be and fast. Boy, he could just, I was just amazed watching him work. And I knew that I had to pick that up too, because this was Moco Better Monkey Grip. They made tire and tube repair materials for bicycles, for cars, automobiles. The stuff for bicycles and all was small little boxes, and there'd be millions of them. Tire and tube repair material. And then they made them for cars also. And then they made floor mats for cars, rubber floor mats that you can put in the driver's side and put in the passenger side, and you can put in the back too. And they were rubber, and they were heavy. And I think there was something, maybe a dozen or so in a box. Boxes are about this big, by that deep, about this long. And they weighed something, I don't remember, 78 pounds, something like that each. And they would be stacked about 13 to 15 high on a skid. And my job was to put those into stock. And presses ran 24 hours a day. And I would work until I got caught up. And then I'd go home, drive across Dallas, the 13, 15 miles, whatever it was, go back to sleep, get up quickly, and head there again the next day. The 30-minute drive over there again. But those boxes, like I said, they were stacked high, and my job was to put them into stock, and the press ran 24 hours a day, so I would work until I got caught up and I could go home. And this meant that I probably worked 15 to some days even maybe 17 hours or something. It was long, long, long days. I'd rush home, sleep a few hours, and go back. 6 days a week, I think it was. And they would go in, the skids of the boxes would be packed up while I was gone, and I had a hand jack, and I would pump it up with my foot, and I'd pull them up to the conveyor belt, take them off the conveyor belt, run them upstairs. And then after I unloaded that skid of them, then I would run upstairs and then put them into stock. And then I'd run back and get another load and pull it up and do the same and keep doing this. And then an 18-wheeler would come in from either Sovereign Mass, United Distributors, or Western Auto. There's Western Auto stores all over the United States. And this is one factory that I was working at, and I was the sole stockman, made floor mats for all of these places across the United States. That's why I worked so long. But anyway, while I'm putting stuff up, 18-wheeler truck might pull in, and I'd have to stop what I'm doing. Meanwhile, more and more mats are being made, put in boxes and piling up that I've got to catch up with. I'd load the 18-wheeler by myself. We had little tracks like this, were up about this high, frames, a little track, had a little rollers on them. And when I put them on the belt that went up, then they would roll down these things, and I'd take them from there and put them into stock. And then when an 18-wheeler came in, I'd pull them off and put them back over there and roll it over to the truck, and then roll it down things into the truck to load it there. And there might be several 18-wheelers there, and then I get back to doing, getting stuff that's been produced while I was working on that, and try and catch up again. Like I said, when I finally get through, then I could go home and drive 30 minutes across town, sleep 3 or 4 hours, and get up and go back again. So it was a busy time, 16 to 17 hours a day, 6 days a week. But one thing it did to me when I found out I was going to live over it was it got me in physical shape. I mean, I was all muscles hardened, tight, but it really did get me that way. There was one time up there, I'd load them up and they'd go upstairs into the stocking area, and it's close to the ceiling, and I'd stack boxes up just almost to the ceiling. It was second floor, and then second floor up to the ceiling. And there's big old I-beams that run like this and come across like that, and they're about that wide. And a beam running down the middle like that. And I'm stocking those things as fast as I could, and they're about this high. And so I had to be very, very careful. There was one time I was slinging a 77-pound box and went like this and turned my whole body with that extra weight and hit that thing right there. And the next thing I knew, I was just on my back, I was seeing stars all over the place. So I learned. I'd already been careful, but when you're in a hurry, you're trying to do that and trying to catch up, and then the truck comes in and trying to catch up again, you tend to, for caution of the winds and hurry. But after doing that for 6 months, since I've already been to high school and already been in the Army, I decided that, yep, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I am going to college.
Or another 5 minutes.
For another, and my brother had already been for a while. My sister had already been. And so it was my time. And with those two already going through, we didn't have the money for me to go through. And they were having to work as they went through too. And so I had enough to get me through, a while there, saved up enough, but then I had to work while I was in college too. But it really got me ready. I'd gotten out of the Army then and started college, and I'd done my active duty part. I had an 8-year obligation. It was 6 months active duty, 3.5 years active reserve, where I went to meetings once a month in summer camp, and then 4 years of standby reserve if they'd call me up. So I had a total of 8-year obligation. But I saved my money from when I was in the Army so I could go into college, and saved my money where I'd been working where I'd go into college. And so I got enough to where I could start. But I did was in the reserve for 3.5 years while I was in college, go back into Dallas to the meetings, and it helped pay my way through. But I went to North Texas my first year, then I transferred to the University of Arkansas, and that's where I majored in biology, or in zoology, and took as few botany courses as I could to get through. And I ended up getting my Bachelor of Science degree in education with my teaching field in biology, and I had a minor teaching field in physical sciences. I took as few of those courses as I could to get by, but I did teach. When I went to teaching, I taught biology 1, biology 2, and some physical science. I went and taught environmental science class also, which was fun. While I was in college too, I had a minor in physical education. I love sports, never really that good at them. I played 7th grade football, and they put me in when they had to.
There are other sports to be good in other than football.
But we lived next door to the church in Freeport when I was growing up, and they had a stage there and a ping pong table on it. Well, my mother and dad both liked to play ping pong, and my older brother and sister did too. And so I just picked that up too. And so I had a good friend that we'd go over and play all day long on Saturdays over at the church next door on the ping pong table, and just loved it. So I entered that in intramurals in college. But I was involved in a number of different things there. I formed my own team, and I was a counselor in the dorm, in a freshman dorm. I was on the 9th floor. And we did have elevators, by the way. But sometimes I'd take the stairs just to try and keep my legs in shape.
I used to do that too in college. Just like
Did
run
you?
stairs.
Yeah. And
yes.
You do run them, try and get there as
Good
far as you can go. It is very good exercise. But anyway, I was my room opened into the lobby, and then there were elevators on both sides of the lobby, and then there was a wing going this way. It had 2 halls in it, and rooms on both sides. Over here, rooms over there, and rooms over there, and it was all freshmen. And so that helped pay my way through school also. And I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed working with the freshmen and counseling with them and trying to encourage them to study and instead of playing since they're away from home for the first time.
I bet you're good at that.
Well, it was fun. It was a challenge. It was a challenge.
You were talking about the intramurals?
Yeah, in intramurals, I played a number of different sports. Like I said, I organized my own team and had friends, and even got some of the freshmen on my team. And there was, oh goodness, we played we were in the independent league. We weren't in the fraternity league. I didn't go into a fraternity. But we played basketball, we played flag football, we played softball, we played tennis, we played racquetball, we played ping pong, and I participated in all of those. It was a great time. The things I really excelled in more were in ping pong and racquetball probably. And it seemed like that I'd won the individual championship there. That helped the team some.
In the ping pong?
In the ping pong,
yeah, that's cool. I think you did pretty well in tennis.
I think we did pretty well. I just don't recall.
Yeah, I got you.
We had singles and doubles in tennis. Mm-hmm. It was just a lot of fun. But I thoroughly enjoyed my zoology classes there. I was at Fayetteville, Arkansas. We're in the Ozark Mountains. And there was rivers and streams and forests, and it was just really neat. And I loved the zoology class there, and ended up taking all these courses and took as many of the field courses as I could because I liked to get in the outdoors and out in the sun and the woods and the forests and streams. Just loved it. I had cousins that lived up in Mount Ida, Arkansas. We'd go up there during the summers. And
you did talk about that.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's part of what really got me interested in this.
Okay, interesting.
But anyway, I love the courses there. I love the teaching there. And ended up, like I said, getting my degree there. My first teaching job was at Atwell Junior High in Dallas. And I was in the science department there. And I taught there for 2 years. I was science department chairman there. And I coached the tennis team, which I love tennis. It wasn't that great, but I always loved it.
That's so fun. I'm glad you got to do that.
It's just able to do it well was different. But I could teach the ones how
you
to
were
do it.
very good.
And then after teaching there for a couple of years, then I went on to SFA, Stephen F. Austin State University, Nacogdoches, and I worked on my master's in zoology, and my emphasis was in herpetology, and that's what I did my research in. And I worked down at the fish hatchery on weekends, and we'd go down there, and there are 63 earthen ponds down there, and a lot of the ponds are like 3/4 of an acre in size, and some of them were like 3 or 4 acres in size. And I would start at dark and go around each pond. I had my waders on, and 1 foot in the water and 1 foot out, and they were concerned that snakes were eating a lot of the fish, young fish. But I'd go around those ponds, and I'd spend all night long until the sun came up going around those.
And that was every weekend?
That was every weekend, yeah. I'd go down there.
Throughout your master's?
Throughout my master's. That's what my master's degree concerned. It helped out the fish hatchery, and it helped out me. They were trying to decide whether to put in snake fences or not, and bed them into the ground and keep snakes from coming in, because they were earthen ponds. And after that, I went to taught in Lamarck High School in Lamarck, Texas, for a couple of years. And then I went and taught at LaPorte High School, which was down in the same area. Well, it was down on the coast. And became head of the science department there. And then I went to Houston and got a job at MD Anderson Hospital and Tumor Institute. And I lived in Webster, Texas, which was across the street from NASA. I mean, right across the street. You turn left to go into NASA, you turn right to come into our apartment complex. Well, the little area was back a street or two.
It's so cool that you got to live by NASA. That's
it
awesome.
Is. I think it was at the time, and I still feel that way. But I learned a lot there, and I really learned to appreciate the medical field. I was a lab tech, worked with lung cancer, and Dr. Toshio Yamauchi was my boss. We drew blood from patients and did studies with it. And we had to learn how to take blood, to draw blood from people. So I don't see red very well, since I'm red-green colorblind. And we're supposed to pick out particular blood vessels to draw from an arm, and I couldn't find them. I mean, I couldn't see the colors. I'd feel I could see something there, and some people could see them under the skin. I couldn't see them very well. And my boss, Tosh, said, well, here, practice on me. And so I stuck him, and I missed. And I couldn't find it. He said, okay, stick again. So I stuck him, and I missed. Okay, well, can you see it right there? No, but it's right there. Okay, I'll try. I stuck him in, I missed. Well, this went on 7 times. And the 7th time, when I missed again, he said, well, wiggle it around there and see if you can find it. I said, Toosh, can somebody else draw the blood and let me take up some of their jobs while they're doing that? He said, yeah, we'll do that.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, I didn't have to draw blood after that.
That's good.
So, but I learned a lot there and learned to appreciate the medical field and learn a lot about lung cancer and what goes on in medical labs. But anyway, I didn't have to draw any more blood for a while. But I did enjoy that work just as I enjoyed the field work, catching the snakes and identifying the fish and all that they were eating. And while I was working at MD Anderson during the days, I would drive the many miles into town to do that and drive back out by Nass again. Well, at nights, I worked at the Space Center Memorial Hospital near where I lived. And I was a recreational director there. And I'd work with patients in the hospital, and whatever they were interested in, I tried to get them off of and away from the pain and them thinking that get their mind in another place. And so I'd try and find out what they were interested in, trying to get them involved in it. And it was an eye-opening experience as to what all the people had to go through with that.
You got to teach some of them chess too.
I taught some of them chess,
That's cool.
And if there's any type of thing they like, I would try and find it and bring it up there, whether chess or checkers or, we played marbles. No, I don't guess we could do that. Word games, you name it, whatever they liked, I would try to get them involved in it and take their minds off of the pain that they were going through and what they were possibly looking at happen to them in the future. But I enjoyed the job. It was rewarding in a number of ways. Not necessarily financially, but it did help me because it was in addition to my other job. It was a nighttime job. Okay.
And then while you were dating Mom.
Oh yeah. While I was dating Linda's mom, she played the guitar. And so she would come out with me when I went over to help the patients at the hospital. And she would play the guitar and would get them to singing. I don't have a great singing voice, but my sister's music talents, my brother has music talents. I enjoyed the appreciation of it. But anyway, I would get them to singing. We'd sing, what songs do they know? We'd get them to doing that, or I might introduce them to some fun songs, or we may do some rounds or something like that. It was a fun time. It was, and it got their minds off of what they were going through, and gave them just a reprieve from the day that they'd had.
It's cool that you got to bring Mom in and kind of let her shine a little bit, because when she would do her Girl Scouting and stuff like that, I'm sure campfires, she would probably play guitar and stuff like that. So she got to come and
and do it in a different
do it in a different way. Encourage people there. So that's neat.
Yeah, but she had a good voice. She could sing.
Yeah.